hello and welcome to a new episode of Underground, where we take a social media tour around the globe to detect users' reactions to events. I'm Al-Etejah Mu'adhin. In today's show, social media continues to unveil the ongoing violence in Bahrain. Human rights activist Frank Barat tells the story of his deportation by Israeli interrogators. Mainstream media outlets fear social media dominance in the information age. And finally, Earth Day celebrated online. We're starting today's show out of Bahrain, where social media is still trying to cover the ongoing peaceful protest in the kingdom. We have a video of a Bahraini being brutally arrested by Bahraini forces. This video was posted on Samahij Voice Facebook page, a regional page that gives updates of the incidents taking place in Samahij in northern Bahrain. Take a look. Another lead for today comes from Syria, where social media turns to be one of the main tools used by both parties to spread the stories of the ongoing war inside the country. Now, even though it became part of the conflict, social media sometimes reflects the reality of what is happening on ground. Claims of needed weaponry by those fighting against President Bashar Assad's government are denied when it comes to YouTube videos posted by these same parties that carry operations inside Syria. These videos usually show the heavy arms and the tremendous amounts of weaponry owned and used by these groups. Take a look.
الله أكبر لله الحمد. الله سعد بن عبادة. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
عمر فاروق تقصف معاقل الشبيحة في قرية آبل. الله أكبر. كتيبة عمر فاروق تقصف. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
Now, out of Palestine, we have some images which were circulated by activists using their Facebook account. Our first picture simply explains how both Zionist settlers and the Israeli army play coordinated parts in stealing Palestinian land and disposing its native residents. Another picture compares the apartheid system in South Africa to the Zionist states, in which Palestinians suffer racial discrimination in their daily life. In other news from Palestine, human rights activist Frank Barat was deported on Monday after he was interrogated at Israeli Ben Gurion Airport. Barat is the coordinator of the Russell Tribunal on Palestine, and he tells us his story in this video. Take a listen.
obviously got to the first line of immigration. So the woman behind the counter, and she checked my passport. She told me to confirm my name, confirm the name of my dad and my granddad. And as soon as I did that, she said, "Look, step away. Step aside. We need to ask you further questions." He handed me a piece of paper and he said, "Write your email addresses. If you got 2 accounts, 3 accounts, just write them down." He didn't ask my consent. For me, it says a lot. They're pretty desperate, and they're definitely trying to map networks to find out who works with who knows who in Palestine, who knows who in Europe, and there's been quite a few reports on the hub of activism that are London and Barcelona and Brussels. So they want to, they've lost the lead, and they want to regain the upper end, but they it's very hard. There's so many activists around and so many networks, and I mean the condition of detention now, it's not nice because it's a small jail really. So you're in a small room with bunk beds and a few other guys. And then you just stuck there I was stuck there for 23 hours, but the guy with me, the Ukrainian guy, was to be there for 7 days, which is just crazy to think about. I've been in touch with lawyers and stuff just to know my rights. And apparently when you've got entry denied on your passport once, it looks like you're automatically barred for either 5 years or 10 years. I'm not entirely sure about this yet, which would be very annoying for me because, I've got work to do in Palestine, but I've also got many friends in Palestine. And but hey, if that's the case, it'll have to be the case. And but let's be optimistic. Maybe Palestine will be liberated by then, and I won't have to wait 5 or 10 years.
In other news, hacking is one of the growing trends on social media, and hackers seem to be able to spread fake news and to create a certain effect in politics or even in the economy. The hacking that took place to Associated Press Twitter account this week made news on social media. The story began after Associated Press Twitter account tweeted, "2 explosions in the White House and Barack Obama is injured." The stock market took the false news of the explosions at the White House seriously, and stocks started to fall. This buzz continued for hours before the Associated Press Facebook account reported, "The Associated Press Twitter account has been hacked. Please do not respond to news posted there." Another social media lead for today comes from the United States, where social media seems to overtake mainstream media outlets in news coverage. This issue was highly debated over Twitter offered real-time coverage of the Boston Marathon bombing. And things went further to talk about Twitter competing with CNN to the extent that some people are calling Twitter the new CNN. To talk more about social media role in the news coverage, we are joined via Skype by Mr. Mohammed Najm. He's the Advocacy and Policy Director at Social Media Exchange. Mr. Najm, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
I would like to start with the increasing role of Twitter these days, or social media in general. Do you think, it's even called the new CNN, as you heard. Isn't this scary news for mainstream media?
Calling it the new CNN is not really what it is. I think social media has a big role to play, but it has it in addition to the traditional media.
Mm-hmm. But it's called the new CNN by the president of the CNN itself, which is something to be.
The president of the CNN, he also called it frenemies. That's a good way of putting it. The news in general is changing from the 80s and the 90s. Now you can call it competition, you can call it wherever you want. Any citizen have the ability to broadcast, to tell what's happening around him or her. They're faster than traditional media. I think traditional media should adopt faster and should use the social media tools in a way to make something like CNN better, and to make something like BBC and other news much better than the traditional media, like it was in the 80s and the 90s.
CNN's president, as you mentioned, that he called Twitter a frenemy, which means a friend and enemy at the same time. Do you think that there's sort of a competition now between old or mainstream media and the new social media?
I mean, I think social media can complement traditional media. Traditional media by itself cannot compete anymore with the way it functions. It needs time, it needs a lot of preparation, and it costs a lot of money to do traditional media. As citizen media is very easy, it's fast, but also it's not accurate. There's a big flow of information. So I think there should be like a mix, like a I think there should be somewhere in between where it could be a combination between traditional and social media that could put the news for the audience in a better way.
But the demand now for quick news and fast news is being met on social media. I mean, in the Boston Marathon explosion last week, like people tweeted the event even before mainstream media did that.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, even from let's say the Benazir Bhutto assassination, it was first tweeted. It wasn't on mainstream media. So like definitely social media and Twitter specifically are much faster than traditional media. But as I said, social media, as much as it has a lot of expanding to reach many people, but it also has its own flaws by the accuracy, by the number, by the quantity of the information that you receive in one click. I mean, many people were checking Twitter when Boston happening, and it was big flow of information, and you can't really know what's really accurate or not. Even
but information and images and videos of the explosions, they were first tweeted.
Absolutely. I mean, of course. I mean, I'm a social media person, so I'm totally supportive of like the adoption of social media into the news. But what I'm trying to say is, I can give you an example. The police, they were complaining after they were announcing that they need the help of the people, that they got a lot of wrong information to their emails and to their accounts. I think social media can play a great role, but it needs to be adopted in a smarter way.
So do you think that social media is being complementary to mainstream media, especially that we find that CNN and like major media outlets are having their own Twitter accounts too, and they are tweeting what they have on their mainstream outlets?
Absolutely, absolutely. Social media and traditional media complement each other. CNN having their Twitter accounts and other news outlets have their Twitter accounts or being present online effectively is a good start. But the power is to use the flow that's coming from accurate resources from around the globe.
Sure. Do you think that social media here at the end, I would like to know, would overcome mainstream media in the near future?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you think that social media will overcome mainstream media in the near future?
Well, if we can solve the problem of the accuracy, and if we can solve the problem of organizing it, which I think it's almost impossible, because the power of the internet and social media it's the chaos that you have it. So if you can organize the chaos that you have online and the social media flow of information, then you might have a competition. But I think for now they complement each other.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed Najem. You are the Policy Director at Social Media Exchange, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, after this interview, we will take a short break. Stay tuned.
women's rights redefined.
Welcome back. Moving on to the news of online celebrations of the Earth Day worldwide, social media activists find Earth Day a time to demonstrate support to environmental protection. Many videos are posted online. Take a look at this one created by Google. In the same context, online activists are trying to highlight three main challenges facing humanity today: hunger, nutrition, and climate change. Now, many conferences are held to spread awareness. Workshops are organized to pressure on industrialized governments to take firm actions to stop the destruction of the planet. On their part, online animators have created this short clip on the issue. Let's take a look.
1 out of every 8 people in the world is hungry and undernourished. Rising global temperatures will make it harder for everyone to have access to enough nutritious food, and those who are already poor and vulnerable will be most affected. The global challenges of hunger, nutrition, and climate justice are closely linked. The right kind of food helps build our immunity to disease and keeps us healthy. Without a balanced and nutritious diet and clean water, children can't develop fully, affecting the rest of their lives and the lives of their children. Climate change makes hunger and undernutrition worse in many different ways. Changes to the global climate can be sudden, like storms, or gradual, like sea level rise. Either way, vulnerable people are put at a greater risk of being hungry and malnourished. For many families, the rains haven't come when expected these last few years, and the hungry season is getting longer. Families struggle to find enough nutritious food. Women, who make up the majority of small-scale farmers, find it even harder to balance childcare, household duties, and farming. Droughts, floods, and unpredictable weather frequently force poor families to sell their livestock or other valuable goods to get by, leaving them even worse off. With poor harvests and smaller herds, less food is available and food prices are higher. It gets harder for families to afford nutritious food, and these people with even less to spend on education and healthcare. And without enough nutritious food, families go hungry and have less energy to fight diseases and infections such as malaria, cholera, and HIV. Everyone has to focus on keeping the family going. But it doesn't have to be like this.
Now, regarding world problems, online audience worldwide shared their thoughts to discuss what it takes to end poverty. Watch this. moving on to another lead out of the multinational software corporation Microsoft, where the company announced the end of its instant messaging system MSN Messenger and its merging with Skype. Let's learn more in this fun interview with Buddy.
Nous le connaissons tous et pourtant c'est la toute première fois qu'il donne une interview. Alors Messenger, bonjour. Alors Messenger, pourquoi avoir décidé de nous parler aujourd'hui?
J'ai toujours voulu rester discret sur ma vie privée. Quand on est une star comme moi, on doit protéger sa famille. Mais bon, maintenant que je pars à la retraite, j'ai moins peur de me faire emmerder.
Alors on va revenir maintenant sur votre parcours. Vous avez commencé votre carrière en 1999, c'est bien ça?
Ouais, c'est ça. Au début, j'avais gardé mon vrai nom, MSN Messenger. À peine un an, j'avais déjà des millions d'utilisateurs. Ah ça, j'en balançais du lol.